The rain came down hard that Tuesday evening, turning the streets into small rivers. Tom hurried down Main Street, checking his watch every few seconds. He was already 20 minutes late to pick up his daughter Lucy from soccer practice, and he knew she would be the last kid waiting. Being a single dad was never easy, but days like this made it feel impossible. His job at the elementary school kept him busy, and between grading papers and preparing lessons, time seemed to slip away from him. He pulled his jacket tighter and walked faster, hoping Lucy wouldn't be too upset with him. As he passed the old bus stop near the library, something made him slow down. Through the heavy rain, he could see someone sitting on the bench. At first, he thought it might be an elderly person waiting for the late bus. But as he got closer, he realized it was a young woman, maybe in her late teens. She was soaked to the bone. Her long brown hair stuck to her face, and her clothes looked like they hadn't been changed in days. What struck Tom most was how she was rocking back and forth, moving her hands in small circles while talking quietly to herself. She seemed completely unaware of the rain pouring down on her. Tom stopped walking. Every part of him wanted to keep going. He was already late. Lucy was waiting, and getting involved with a stranger could lead to complications he didn't need. But something about the girl's situation reminded him of his own teenage years when he had nowhere to go and no one to turn to. He approached the bench slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Excuse me," he said gently. "Are you okay?" The girl looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes. She stopped rocking but kept moving her hands. "The bus," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I missed the bus. It was supposed to come at 5, but I got confused about the time." Tom noticed she spoke in a way that seemed younger than she looked. There was something childlike about her voice and the way she explained things very simply and directly. "What's your name?" Tom asked, sitting down on the other end of the bench to give her space. "Rachel," she said, still looking nervous. "I'm 18. I'm supposed to take care of myself now, but I don't know where to go. The place where I live said I had to leave because I'm too old now." Tom felt his heart sink. He had heard about kids aging out of the foster system, but he had never met someone going through it. "Do you have anywhere to stay tonight?" Rachel shook her head. "I tried the shelter, but they said it's full. I have some money, but not enough for a hotel. I thought maybe I could ride the bus until morning, but I missed it." She started rocking again, her anxiety clearly growing. The rain continued to fall, and Tom could see Rachel shivering. Her thin jacket was completely soaked through. He thought about Lucy waiting at the soccer field, probably wondering where he was. He thought about his comfortable apartment and warm bed. Then he looked at Rachel again, sitting in the rain with nowhere to go. "Listen," Tom said, making a decision that surprised even him. "I need to pick up my daughter from soccer practice. Would you like to come with me? We can figure out what to do from there." Rachel's eyes widened with fear. "I don't know you," she said, scooting further away on the bench. "You're right to be careful," Tom said. "I'm a teacher at Oakwood Elementary. My name is Tom. I have a daughter who's 8 years old. I'm not trying to hurt you. I just don't think you should sit out here in the rain all night." He pulled out his wallet and showed Rachel his school ID card. "See, I work with kids. I know this is scary, but I promise I just want to help you get somewhere safe." Rachel stared at the ID card for a long time. She seemed to be thinking very hard about something. Finally, she said, "My caseworker used to say that most people are good, but some people aren't. She taught me to trust my feelings about people." "What do your feelings tell you about me?" Tom asked. Rachel was quiet for almost a minute, still looking at his ID. "You seem sad," she said finally. "But not angry sad. More like worried sad. Like you understand what it feels like to be scared." Tom was surprised by how perceptive she was. "You're right," he said. "I do understand. When I was younger, I was in foster care too. I know what it's like to feel like you don't have anyone." This seemed to calm Rachel down a little. She stopped rocking and really looked at Tom for the first time. "You were in foster care?" "From when I was 13 until I aged out at 18, Tom said. "It was hard, really hard. But I was lucky. I had some people who helped me along the way." Rachel nodded slowly. "Maybe that's why you stopped to talk to me. Maybe you're supposed to help me like those people helped you." Tom hadn't thought about it that way, but maybe she was right. "Maybe so," he said. "So what do you think? Will you come with me?" Rachel was quiet again, thinking. She looked at the empty street, then at the rain, then back at Tom. "Okay," she said finally. But if you try to hurt me, I'll scream really loud. I'm good at screaming. Tom couldn't help but smile a little. That's smart. You should always be ready to protect yourself. They stood up from the bench, and Tom noticed Rachel was much shorter than he had thought. She also walked with a slight limp favoring her right leg. As they headed toward his car, she suddenly stopped. Wait, she said. I need to get my bag. She walked back to the bus stop and picked up a small backpack that Tom hadn't noticed before. It looked like it contained everything she owned in the world. Is that all your stuff? Tom asked gently. Rachel nodded. I don't need much. The group home said I should travel light when I left. She said this matter-of-factly, as if having all your possessions fit in one small bag was perfectly normal. As they got in Tom's car, Rachel seemed nervous again. She kept her hand on the door handle and watched Tom carefully. Where are we going first? She asked. To get my daughter Lucy from soccer practice. Then I thought we could go to my apartment and call some people who might be able to help you find a safe place to stay. What if your daughter doesn't like me? Rachel asked. Kids sometimes think I'm weird because I talk different and do things different. Tom started the car and looked at Rachel in the rearview mirror. Lucy is pretty good with people who are different. She has a friend at school who uses a wheelchair, and another friend who doesn't talk much. She's learned that different doesn't mean bad. As they drove through the rain toward the soccer field, Tom wondered what he was getting himself into. He had just invited a stranger into his car and soon into his home. But looking at Rachel in his back seat, clutching her small bag and still shivering from the cold, he knew he couldn't have just walked away. Sometimes Tom thought you have to take a chance on doing the right thing, even when you're not sure what will happen next. The soccer field was almost empty when Tom pulled into the parking lot. Only 2 cars remained, and he could see Lucy sitting on the bench next to Coach Kelly, swinging her legs and looking around hopefully. When she spotted Tom's car, her face lit up and she waved enthusiastically. That's my daughter, Tom told Rachel, who had been quiet during the drive, the one in the red jersey. Rachel pressed her face to the window. She looks happy. Even though you're late, she still looks happy to see you. Tom felt a pang of guilt. Lucy always forgave him when work made him late, but he knew it wasn't fair to her. As they got out of the car, Lucy came running over. Dad, I thought maybe you forgot about me, Lucy said, giving him a big hug. Then she noticed Rachel standing awkwardly by the car, still holding her small backpack. Lucy, this is Rachel, Tom said, unsure how to explain the situation. She's going to come home with us for a while. Lucy looked at Rachel with curious eyes. She was at that age where she noticed everything but hadn't learned to hide her thoughts yet. Are you a friend from work? She asked. Rachel looked nervous and started rocking slightly from foot to foot. No, I'm not a teacher. Your dad found me at the bus stop because I didn't have anywhere to go. Tom was surprised by Rachel's honesty. Most adults would have made up a simpler explanation for a child, but Rachel just told the truth in her straightforward way. You didn't have anywhere to go? Lucy asked, her eyes getting wide. Like no house at all? Lucy, Tom started to say, thinking maybe this was too much for her to understand, but Rachel answered before he could stop her. I lived in a group home, but when you turn 18, they make you leave. I'm supposed to take care of myself now, but I don't really know how yet. Lucy thought about this for a moment. That doesn't seem fair. When I'm 18, I'm still going to need my dad to help me with stuff. You're right, Rachel said with a small smile. It's not really fair, but that's just how it works. As they drove home, Lucy kept turning around in her seat to look at Rachel. Do you like pizza? She asked. Dad was going to order pizza for dinner because he was too tired to cook. I like pizza, Rachel said, but I don't have money to pay for it. You don't have to pay, Lucy said, as if this was obvious. You're our guest. Guests don't pay for food. Tom watched this exchange in his rearview mirror and felt amazed by his daughter's natural kindness. She had immediately accepted Rachel without any of the hesitation that adults might have. When they arrived at Tom's apartment building, Rachel stopped at the entrance and looked up at the 3-story building. This is where you live? She asked. Second floor, Tom said. It's not fancy, but it's home. As they climbed the stairs, Rachel moved slowly, still favoring her right leg. Lucy noticed and slowed down to walk beside her. Did you hurt your leg? She asked. I was born with it a little different, Rachel explained. It doesn't hurt much, but sometimes I get tired if I walk too far. My friend Jake at school has legs that work different too, Lucy said. He has these cool crutches that are blue. Do you have crutches? No, I can walk okay most of the time, Rachel said. But thank you for asking. Most people just stare and don't say anything. Inside the apartment, Rachel stood in the living room looking around like she had never seen a normal home before. She touched the couch carefully as if she wasn't sure she was allowed to. You can sit down, Tom said gently. Make yourself comfortable. It's really nice, Rachel said, sitting on the very edge of the couch. It feels like a real family lives here. Lucy flopped down next to her. What do you mean? What does a fake family feel like? Rachel thought about this question seriously. Well, in the group homes, everything belongs to everyone, but nothing really belongs to you. And there are so many rules about what you can touch and where you can sit. This feels like people actually live here and care about each other. Tom felt his throat tighten. He had never thought about how his simple apartment might look to someone who had never had a real home. Are you hungry? He asked. I should probably get you some dry clothes first, though. You're still damp from the rain. Rachel looked down at her wet clothes. I only have what's in my bag. And it's not much. That's okay, Lucy said, jumping up. You can borrow some of my dad's clothes. He has soft pants and warm shirts. Tom went to his bedroom and found some sweatpants and a t-shirt that would be too big for Rachel, but would at least be warm and dry. When he came back, he found Lucy showing Rachel her collection of stuffed animals. This is Mr. Bear, Lucy was saying, holding up a worn teddy bear. I've had him since I was little. Do you have any stuffed animals? Rachel shook her head. We weren't allowed to keep toys at the group home. They said we were too old for that kind of thing. Lucy looked shocked. Too old for stuffed animals? That's silly. Dad still has a stuffed dog from when he was a kid. Right, Dad? Tom smiled. Right, his name is Buddy and he's in my closet. See? Lucy said to Rachel. Nobody's too old for stuffed animals. You can hold Mr. Bear if you want. He's very good at making people feel better. Rachel took the teddy bear carefully like it was made of glass. She held it against her chest and Tom could see her relaxing for the first time since he had met her. While Rachel changed into the dry clothes in the bathroom, Tom called his sister Katie, who worked for social services in the next county. He explained the situation in whispers while Lucy set the table for 3 people. Tom, you can't just bring random people home, Katie said when he finished. I know you want to help, but this could be complicated. You don't know anything about her background or why she was really on the street. She aged out of foster care. Katie, she's just a kid with nowhere to go. She's legally an adult, Katie reminded him. And you have Lucy to think about. What if this girl has problems you don't know about? Tom looked toward the bathroom where he could hear Rachel moving around quietly. What if she doesn't? What if she's just someone who needs help and nobody ever gave her a chance? Katie sighed. I'll make some calls tomorrow and see what services are available. But Tom, this can't be a long-term thing. You know that, right? After he hung up, Tom ordered pizza and tried to push away his sister's warnings. When Rachel came out of the bathroom wearing his oversized clothes, she looked even younger than before. The sweatpants had to be rolled up several times and the t-shirt hung almost to her knees. Better? Tom asked. Rachel nodded and smiled. Really smiled for the first time. Much better. Thank you. Lucy clapped her hands. Now you look cozy. Do you want to watch a movie while we wait for the pizza? As they settled on the couch together, Lucy in the middle with Mr. Bear on her lap and Rachel beside her still looking a bit overwhelmed, Tom realized his quiet life had just become much more complicated. But watching Lucy share her favorite movie with Rachel, seeing how naturally his daughter had accepted this stranger, Tom thought maybe complicated wasn't always bad. Sometimes complicated meant you were doing something that mattered. 3 weeks had passed since that rainy night at the bus stop, and Tom's life had changed in ways he never expected. Rachel had been staying on the couch, and what started as a temporary solution was becoming something more permanent. Every morning she would fold her blankets neatly and stack them in the corner, as if she might be asked to leave at any moment. Tom had learned that Rachel's disabilities went deeper than he first realized. She could read well and had an amazing memory for details, but simple things like using the washing machine or knowing how much soap to put in the dishwasher completely overwhelmed her. She had panic attacks when there were too many choices to make, like standing in the grocery store cereal aisle for 20 minutes because she couldn't decide between 12 different options. But there were surprises too. Rachel turned out to be incredible with organization. She had reorganized Tom's entire kitchen, putting everything in logical groups that made cooking much easier. She also had a gift for drawing. Lucy had given her some colored pencils, and Rachel spent hours creating detailed pictures of birds and flowers with a precision that amazed them both. The problems started small. Tom's ex-wife Jennifer had called unexpectedly one evening and heard Rachel's voice in the background. When Tom tried to explain, Jennifer became furious. "You brought a stranger into your home while my daughter is there?" Jennifer's voice was so loud that both Lucy and Rachel could hear her through the phone. "Tom, what were you thinking?" Tom had moved to his bedroom to continue the conversation privately, but he knew Rachel had heard enough to understand she was causing trouble. When he came back to the living room, she was sitting on the couch with tears in her eyes. "I should go," Rachel said quietly. "I don't want to make problems for you and Lucy." "You're not making problems," Lucy said firmly, sitting down next to Rachel. "My mom just worries about everything. She worries about me eating too much sugar and staying up too late and watching movies that might give me nightmares. She doesn't know you like we do." But Tom could see the damage was done. Rachel had retreated into herself, becoming quiet and careful again like she had been that first night. She started apologizing for everything, even things that weren't her fault, like when the milk ran out or when it rained. At work, things weren't much better. Tom's principal, Mrs. Rodriguez, had called him into her office after hearing rumors about his living situation. "Tom, I need to ask you directly," she said, closing her office door. "Is it true that you have an unrelated adult living in your home with your young daughter?" Tom felt his face get hot. "Rachel is someone who needed help. She's not dangerous. She's actually been wonderful with Lucy." "That's not the point," Mrs. Rodriguez said. "Parents are starting to ask questions. Some are concerned about your judgment. As an elementary school teacher, you have to understand how this looks." "How does it look?" Tom asked, though he already knew the answer. "Like you might not be making the best decisions about who you expose children to. I'm not saying you've done anything wrong, but perception matters in this job." That evening, Tom felt the weight of everyone's disapproval pressing down on him. Maybe they were all right. Maybe he had acted too quickly, too emotionally. Maybe bringing Rachel home had been a mistake that was going to cost him his job and his relationship with his daughter. He found Rachel in the kitchen, washing dishes with the careful precision she brought to everything. She had learned exactly how Tom liked things done and never left even a water spot on a glass. "Rachel, we need to talk," Tom said gently. She turned around, and he could see in her eyes that she knew what was coming. "You want me to leave?" she said. It wasn't a question. "It's not that I want you to leave," Tom said, struggling with the words. "It's just that this situation is getting complicated. People are asking questions at work, and my ex-wife is threatening to take Lucy away from me." Rachel dried her hands slowly on the dish towel. "I understand," she said. "I always knew this was temporary. I just hoped maybe it could last a little longer." Lucy appeared in the kitchen doorway in her pajamas. "What's going on? Why does Rachel look sad?" Tom didn't know how to explain adult complications to an 8-year-old, but Rachel knelt down to Lucy's level and took her hands. "Sometimes grown-ups have to make hard choices," Rachel said. "Your dad has been very kind to me, but some people think it's not safe for me to live here with you." "But you are safe," Lucy said, her voice getting louder. "You help me with my homework, and you make the best grilled cheese sandwiches, and you never get mad when I ask too many questions." "I know," Rachel said, tears starting to fall. "And living here with you and your dad has been the best 3 weeks of my whole life. But sometimes what we want and what we can have are different things." Lucy looked back and forth between Tom and Rachel, trying to understand. "Dad, you always tell me that we should help people who need help. Rachel needs help. Why are people saying that's wrong?" They drove downtown as the sun was setting. The bus station was busy with evening commuters, but Tom spotted Rachel immediately. She was sitting on the same bench where he had found her 8 weeks ago, wearing the same wet clothes from that rainy night. Her backpack sat beside her, and she was rocking back and forth, talking quietly to herself. "There she is," Lucy whispered, pressing her face to the car window. Tom parked and approached slowly, just like he had that first night. Rachel looked up when she saw him, and her face was a mixture of relief and shame. "I'm sorry," she said before he could speak. "I know I shouldn't have left without saying anything. I just got scared." "Scared of what?" Tom asked, sitting down beside her on the bench. "The program called yesterday," Rachel said, still rocking slightly. Tom felt something break inside his chest. His 8-year-old daughter understood the situation better than most of the adults around him. "You're right, Lucy. Helping people is the right thing to do, but sometimes doing the right thing is harder than it should be. The next morning, Tom's sister Katie called with news. She had found a program that helped young adults with disabilities transition to independent living. There was an opening, but Rachel would have to wait 2 months for it to become available. 2 months, Tom repeated, looking at Rachel across the breakfast table. Do you think you can wait 2 months? Rachel's face lit up with hope, then immediately clouded with worry. But what about all the problems I'm causing? What about your job and Lucy's mom? Let me worry about those things, Tom said, making a decision that felt both terrifying and absolutely right. You're not going anywhere. That afternoon, Tom did something he had never done before. He called Jennifer and asked her to meet him for coffee, bringing Lucy along. When Jennifer saw how Lucy interacted with Rachel, how comfortable and happy she was, some of her anger began to fade. She really cares about this girl, Jennifer said, watching Lucy and Rachel draw pictures together at a nearby table. Rachel has been good for Lucy, Tom said. She's teaching her things about kindness and acceptance that I never could have taught her on my own. Jennifer was quiet for a long time. If anything happens to Lucy because of this decision, Tom, I will never forgive you. Nothing is going to happen to Lucy, Tom said. But if I had turned my back on Rachel that night, I never would have forgiven myself. At work, Tom decided to be completely honest with Mrs. Rodriguez. He told her about his own time in foster care, about finding Rachel at the bus stop, and about the program that would help her in 2 months. I know this looks risky, he said, but sometimes teachers have to model the values we try to teach, and if I can't show compassion to someone who needs help, how can I expect my students to do the same? Mrs. Rodriguez listened to the whole story, then leaned back in her chair. 2 months, she said finally. But Tom, if there are any problems, any complaints from parents, any issues at all, this conversation becomes very different. That evening, Tom found Rachel and Lucy on the couch, reading a book together. Rachel was helping Lucy with the bigger words, and Lucy was explaining the pictures to Rachel. They looked like they belonged together, like family. We're okay for now, Tom told them. 2 more months, and then Rachel will have her own place with people trained to help her learn everything she needs to know. Rachel smiled, but Tom could see sadness mixed with the relief. I'm going to miss you both so much, she said. Who says you have to miss us? Lucy asked. You can visit all the time. Right, Dad? Tom nodded, realizing that in trying to help Rachel, she had actually helped them too. She had shown them both what family really meant, and that was something worth fighting for. 6 weeks into the 2-month waiting period, everything fell apart on a Tuesday morning. Tom woke up to find Rachel's blankets folded neatly on the couch as usual, but Rachel was nowhere to be found. Her small backpack was gone, and there was no note, no explanation, nothing. Lucy discovered she was missing first. Dad, she called from the living room, her voice shaky with panic. Where's Rachel? Her stuff is gone. Tom searched the apartment, though he knew she wasn't there. He checked the bathroom, his bedroom, even the closet where Lucy sometimes hid when she was upset. But Rachel had simply vanished. Maybe she went to the store, Lucy said hopefully, but Tom could see the fear in her eyes. Her backpack is gone, sweetie, Tom said gently. I think she left, Lucy's face crumpled. But why? Did we do something wrong? I thought she was happy here. Tom called in sick to work and spent the morning driving around the city, checking every bus stop, every shelter, every place he could think of where Rachel might go. He even went back to the library where he had first found her, but she wasn't there. By afternoon, he was desperate enough to call the police. The officer who took the report was kind, but not very helpful. She's 18, sir, Officer Martinez explained. She's legally an adult. If she chose to leave, that's her right. Has she threatened to hurt herself or anyone else? No, nothing like that, Tom said. She just disappeared. She's been living with us for almost 2 months, and everything seemed fine. Sometimes people with developmental disabilities get overwhelmed and run away, the officer said. They often go back to places that feel familiar to them. You might try checking where she lived before. Tom realized he had never asked Rachel about her group home or where exactly she had lived before that night at the bus stop. There was so much about her past that remained a mystery. That evening, Lucy refused to eat dinner. She sat at the kitchen table staring at the empty chair where Rachel usually sat, tears streaming down her face. This is my fault, Lucy whispered. Yesterday I got frustrated when she asked me the same question 3 times about my math homework. I was mean to her. "Oh, sweetheart," Tom said, pulling Lucy onto his lap. "This is not your fault. Rachel knows you love her. Sometimes people leave for reasons that have nothing to do with us." But even as he said it, Tom wondered if he had somehow failed Rachel. Maybe the pressure of waiting for the program had been too much. Maybe she had overheard one of his phone conversations with Katie or Jennifer and felt like she was causing too many problems. The next day, Tom went to work but couldn't concentrate on anything. He kept checking his phone, hoping for some word from Rachel. His students noticed his distraction. "Mr. Johnson, are you okay?" asked Mia, one of his third graders. "You seem really sad today." Tom managed to smile. "Sometimes grown-ups worry about people they care about, just like you might worry about your friends or family." "Is someone you care about in trouble?" Mia asked with the directness that only children have. "I don't know," Tom said honestly. "I hope not." It was Lucy who figured out where Rachel had gone. That evening she was looking at one of Rachel's drawings, a detailed picture of the downtown bus station with every bench and sign carefully drawn. "Dad," Lucy said suddenly, "look at this picture." Rachel drew the bus station like she knew it really well. What if she went back there? Tom felt a surge of hope mixed with fear. The bus station at night was not a safe place for anyone, especially not for someone as vulnerable as Rachel. There was a problem with my application. Something about my medical records from when I was little. They said it might take longer, maybe a lot longer. Tom felt his heart sink. "Why didn't you tell me? We could have figured something out." "Because I heard you on the phone with your sister," Rachel said, tears starting to flow. "She said I was becoming too much of a burden, that you were risking too much for someone you barely knew. And she was right. I've caused nothing but problems for you and Lucy." "Rachel," Tom said firmly, "look at me." She stopped rocking and met his eyes. "You are not a burden," Tom said. "You are family. Do you understand what that means?" "I don't think I do," Rachel said honestly. "I've never really had a family before." Lucy had gotten out of the car and was walking toward them. When Rachel saw her, she started crying harder. "I'm sorry, Lucy," Rachel said. "I didn't want to leave you, but I thought it would be better for everyone." Lucy sat down on the other side of Rachel and took her hand. "Better for who?" "I've been crying for 2 days. Dad burned dinner last night because he was so worried he forgot to watch the stove." "How is that better?" Rachel looked surprised. "You were crying? Because of me?" "Of course because of you," Lucy said. "You're my friend. You're part of our family. When family disappears, people cry." "But I'm not really family," Rachel said quietly. "Real families are people who are related to each other." "That's not true," Lucy said with the confidence that only an 8-year-old could have. "Family is people who love each other and take care of each other." "You love us, right?" Rachel nodded. "And we love you, right, Dad?" "Right," Tom said, realizing it was completely true. "And we all take care of each other," Lucy continued. "So that makes us family. It doesn't matter that we don't look alike or that you didn't grow up with us. Family is what you choose, not what you're born with." Tom stared at his daughter, amazed by her wisdom. "Lucy's right," he said. "Rachel, what if I told you that you don't have to wait for the program? What if I said you could stay with us as long as you want? And we'll figure out how to help you learn the things you need to know." Rachel's eyes went wide. "But what about your job? What about all the people who said it was a bad idea?" "Let me worry about that," Tom said. "The question is, do you want to stay? Do you want to be part of our family?" Rachel was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Then she smiled, really smiled for the first time in days. "Yes," she said, "I want to stay. I want to be family." As they drove home together, Tom realized that sometimes the most important decisions are the ones that don't make sense to everyone else. He didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but he knew they would face them together. Family, as Lucy had said, was what you chose. And they had chosen each other. 1 year later, Rachel stood nervously in front of the community center microphone, looking out at a crowd of about 50 people. Her hands shook as she held her notes, but when she spotted Tom and Lucy in the front row giving her encouraging smiles, she took a deep breath and began to speak. "My name is Rachel, and I want to tell you about the night that changed my life," she said, her voice quiet but steady. "Exactly 1 year ago, I was sitting at a bus stop in the rain with nowhere to go and no one who cared about me. I thought that was just how my life was going to be forever. The audience was completely silent, listening to every word. Rachel had been invited to speak at a fundraiser for youth aging out of foster care, something she never could have imagined doing when Tom first found her. But then a man stopped and asked if I was okay. Rachel continued, gaining confidence. He didn't have to stop. He was late to pick up his daughter, and I was just a stranger who looked like trouble. But he stopped anyway, and that choice changed everything. In the audience, Tom felt his eyes getting misty. The past year had been full of challenges and surprises. But watching Rachel grow into the confident young woman speaking now made every difficult moment worth it. After that night at the bus station when they decided to become a real family, things had slowly gotten better. Tom had sat down with Mrs. Rodriguez and explained that Rachel wasn't going anywhere, and that he was willing to accept whatever consequences came with that decision. To his surprise, she had been more understanding than he expected. "I've been thinking about what you said," Mrs. Rodriguez had told him, "about modeling the values we try to teach. Maybe having someone like Rachel in your life actually makes you a better teacher. Your students have certainly noticed a change in how you talk about acceptance and kindness." She was right. Tom's experience with Rachel had made him more aware of his students who struggled with learning differences or came from difficult home situations. He found himself being more patient, more creative in finding ways to help every child succeed. The biggest surprise had come from Jennifer. After watching Lucy flourish over the months, seeing how confident and compassionate she had become, Jennifer had gradually warmed up to Rachel. She even started including Rachel in some of Lucy's weekend visits. "I was wrong about her," Jennifer had admitted to Tom one evening when she dropped Lucy off. "She's been good for our daughter. Lucy talks about Rachel like she's her big sister." And that's exactly what Rachel had become. She helped Lucy with homework, taught her how to braid friendship bracelets, and listened patiently to 9-year-old problems that seemed enormous to Lucy, but small to adults. In return, Lucy had taught Rachel things that no program ever could have: how to laugh at silly jokes, how to paint her nails, and how to believe that she deserved to be loved. The practical challenges had been real, though. Rachel still struggled with some daily tasks, and there were moments when Tom felt overwhelmed by the responsibility. But they had found ways to work together. Rachel's incredible organizational skills had actually made their household run more smoothly. She kept track of Lucy's school events, made sure bills were paid on time, and had even learned to cook several meals that both Tom and Lucy loved. "The hardest part wasn't learning to live independently," Rachel was saying to the crowd. "It was learning to believe that I deserved a family. I had spent my whole life being told that I was too much work, too difficult, too different. But Tom and Lucy taught me that different doesn't mean less valuable." Tom remembered the day Rachel had gotten her first real job. The local animal shelter had been looking for someone to help with organizing their supply room and caring for the animals. Rachel's attention to detail and gentle nature made her perfect for the work. When she got the job, she had cried happy tears for an hour. "I have my own paycheck," she had told them, holding the small piece of paper like it was made of gold. "I'm actually helping people take care of animals, and they're paying me for it." The job had given Rachel confidence and independence she had never had before. She took the bus to work every day, managed her own schedule, and had even made friends with some of her co-workers. But she always came home to Tom and Lucy, and the three of them had dinner together every night like a real family. "Today, I live in my own apartment," Rachel continued her speech. "But I'm not alone. I have a dad who taught me that family isn't about being perfect. I have a little sister who showed me that love is simple when it's real. And I have a community of people who believe in me." 6 months earlier, Rachel had moved into a small apartment just 10 minutes away from Tom and Lucy. She had been ready for more independence, but none of them wanted to be too far apart. She came over for dinner twice a week, and Lucy often spent Saturday afternoons at Rachel's place helping her decorate and learning to do laundry. The apartment was tiny but perfect for Rachel. She had filled it with her artwork, which had gotten so good that the community center displayed several of her pieces. She had also adopted a small cat from the shelter where she worked, a scared little thing that reminded Tom of Rachel that first night. "People ask me sometimes if I'm grateful to Tom for saving me," Rachel said, her voice growing stronger. "But that's not really what happened. We saved each other. He needed to remember what it felt like to help someone, and I needed to learn what it felt like to be helped. Lucy needed to see what real kindness looks like, and I needed to experience it. In the audience, Lucy was beaming with pride. At 9 years old, she had become Rachel's biggest supporter and fiercest protector. When kids at school asked about her weird sister, Lucy would explain matter-of-factly that Rachel's brain worked differently, but that made her better at some things, like remembering birthdays and drawing pictures and always telling the truth. "The most important thing I learned," Rachel was saying as she approached the end of her speech, "is that everyone deserves a chance to belong somewhere. Some people are lucky enough to be born into families that understand them. Others, like me, have to find their families along the way. But everyone, no matter how different they might seem, has something valuable to offer if someone is willing to see it." Rachel paused and looked directly at Tom and Lucy. "Tom saw something in me that night at the bus stop that I couldn't see in myself. He saw potential. He saw worth. He saw family. And because he was brave enough to say, 'Come with me,' to a stranger, my whole life changed." The audience erupted in applause as Rachel finished her speech. She smiled widely. No longer the scared, wet girl from the bus stop, but a confident young woman who knew she belonged somewhere. After the event, as they walked to the car together, Lucy took Rachel's hand. "That was the best speech ever," she said. "I'm proud to be your sister." "I'm proud to be your sister too," Rachel replied. Tom watched his 2 daughters walking ahead of him and marveled at how much their lives had changed since that rainy Tuesday evening. He had thought he was rescuing someone, but really Rachel had rescued all of them. She had shown them what unconditional love looked like, what real family meant, and how much stronger they could be together than apart. Sometimes the best decisions are the ones that don't make sense to anyone else. Sometimes family is something you choose rather than something you're born into. And sometimes, when you're brave enough to say, "Come with me," to someone who needs hope, you discover that you needed them just as much as they needed you.